What is content marketing? You've probably heard this term before, but not quite sure what it exactly means. Is it marketing, or is it like an ad that you would see on TV? Or is it something like content that you would read, like an editorial that you would read in a magazine or a newspaper? Well, it's neither of those things. And in today's video, I'm going to go over what is content marketing, why you should be using it, and some great examples of content marketing. So let's get into it. So what is content marketing? So here's the formal definition, which I'm going to read for you. A type of marketing that involves the creation and sharing of online material, such as videos, blogs, and social media posts, that does not explicitly promote a brand, but is intended to stimulate interest in its products or services. Now, I slightly disagree with that online material part because content marketing has been around for hundreds of years, and I'm going to tell you about an example of that earlier, but that's what the definition is of content marketing. So what type of content would you consider content marketing? Well, pretty much everything, whether that's blog posts, podcasts, YouTube videos like this, email newsletters, webinars, PDFs, white papers, social media updates. Pretty much anything that you can create, you could use that for content marketing. The only thing you shouldn't be doing is explicitly trying to sell your product or service. That then is advertising. So why should you be using content marketing? Well, it's a great way to increase visitors to your website, grow your email newsletter list, be seen as an authority in your niche, more leads for your business, and ultimately more sales. So I want to get into some of the greatest examples of content marketing that I've come across. The first one is Michelin. Now, a lot of us know Michelin potentially for the Michelin restaurant guide. You know, there's 3-star restaurants, 2-star restaurants, and a 1-star restaurant. But no one really knows the backstory to where that guide came from. Michelin actually sell tires, and back in 1900s, they needed to figure out a way to create demand for more cars, and ultimately which would lead to people buying more tires. So they created the Michelin Guide, which gave restaurants a rating of up to 3 stars. A 1-star restaurant was a very good restaurant in its category. A 2-star restaurant was excellent cooking worth a detour. And lastly, a 3-star restaurant was exceptional cuisine worth a special journey. Now you can see back in 1900s, there were only about 300 cars in France at the time. So they not only had to create demand for people to travel, but create demand for cars. And so this is exactly what that guide did. And still to today, over 120 odd years later, the Michelin Guide is still going strong. And ultimately, it's getting people out there to travel more and use their cars more, which in turn would mean you need new tires. So that's one great example. Another good example that I came across, and it's close to home here in South Africa, is diamonds. A company called De Beers, and there's a whole long story about how De Beers was formed, but we don't want to go into that. What we wanted to get into is like diamonds and how De Beers created a marketing campaign that ultimately drove people to buy diamonds. And the way they created demand for those diamonds, they started with influencer marketing way back in the 1900s as well. I guess they wouldn't have called it influencer marketing, but what they did was they put out stories to say that celebrities were now buying diamonds and owning diamonds, as well as being proposed with or proposed to with diamonds. And that spread like absolute wildfire when people realized, oh wow, that these people were buying diamonds. What they also did was really, really smart. They created another advertising campaign to talk about, well, how much should you spend on a diamond when you propose? The headline they sort of created was, 2 months' salary is a small price to pay for something that'll last forever. That slogan that story as well as them creating this demand for diamonds is why we still buy diamonds when we're proposing to someone. They've also gone on to create the Eternity ring, the Trilogy ring, and even the right-handed ring, as well as more marketing they've put on to create demand for their product being diamonds. But obviously those two examples are already difficult to try and replicate in our businesses. I mean, they the best of the best of the best. So what are some other examples of businesses that are doing it really well that we can learn a lot from? And there are 2 examples of this I'd like to go over quickly. One is HubSpot, and the other one is Blendtec. So HubSpot, I think if you go and look at some of their content, they do some amazing job on YouTube videos. They've got a bunch of PDFs that you can download on their website. Ultimately, if you go and look at all their marketing, all they're trying to do is help small businesses or small and medium-sized businesses grow. And ultimately, when you're listening to them and consuming their content, they're hoping by them helping that one day you'll become a customer of theirs by signing up and using their CRM. So I think that's a great way of something we can learn about, like trying to help others with content is a great way to show that you're an authority in a niche, like I mentioned earlier, and ultimately try and generate sales that way. The other one is blend tech. So some of us might not know the blender so well, but what we would have remembered is in the early days, they still do it to today, is they would blend technology. So the very first iPhone came out, and if anyone remembers how difficult it was to try and get the first version, or even the 3G or the 3GS, it was really difficult, standing in queues and outside the Apple stores trying to buy one. And what they would do is get one of these, put it in one of their blenders and blend it. And their videos are still doing to today. I think they're starting to blend a whole bunch of other things, not just iPhones. I think I've seen iPads being blended and all sorts of bigger products as well. And I think that's a great way of also, it's a funny way, but it's an interesting way to show, well, hey, if we can blend an iPhone, well, I'm sure we can blend your vegetables and fruits for your smoothies in the morning. So that's some great examples of content marketing. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And if I could ask a little cheeky little favors to give it a little like or thumbs up so I know that you're actually watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.